Hello. My name's Sammy, aka Four String Boy, and today I'm here to talk to you about my feelings on the Soundbrenner Wave in-ear monitors. Now, there's a big chance you might have seen these things online. Soundbrenner are going quite aggressive with an advertising campaign at the moment. But if you haven't heard of Soundbrenner, I've been a fan of theirs for too long. Essentially, I started off with using their free metronome app that's on iOS and Android. If you're after a good metronome, I do recommend it. And then secondly, I've been using their Soundbrenner Core, which is essentially their metronome smartwatch combo that's great for quiet metronome practice. Now, I've actually had these things since April, but because of some illness and me wanting to test them out live on stage, this is only why I'm talking about them right now. But the good thing is, it feels like after all these months, I've got to know them pretty damn well. So that means I'll break down this review into three categories: how they are on stage live, how they are when I use them at home whenever I'm recording music or making videos, and how they act as general in-ear headphones. Now, for 100% clarity, Soundbrenner did send me these for free. However, they haven't paid me any money. They're not paying any money for the video. They're not sponsoring for the video. So that means that they'll have no influence over what's in this video, and they don't know what I'm going to say. Okay, so let's talk a little about the specs and what you get in the box of the Soundbrenner Wave in-ear monitors. In the box, you'll get a pair of the Wave in-ear monitors alongside a 1.5 meter braided cable to attach them to. You can detach the waves from the cable, but it doesn't look like Soundbrenner sell a replacement cable in case you break it. Thankfully, I've trodden on this cable and yanked it out many times, dropped it, everything you can imagine, and it still seems to be absolutely fine. There's no interference, so I will say it is decently hardy. The cable is a 3.5mm jack at the end, which connects to my in-ear monitor amp and phone, but they also give you a 1/4-inch jack adapter, which I use when plugging into my sound card. You get two different types of ear tips in the box in three different sizes. So that's 6 pairs in total, 3 pairs of silicone and 3 pairs of foam. I've used both, but I prefer the silicone. I feel like they're a bit more comfortable. The foam are made so they kind of fill in your ear canal a bit more, so they provide basically some sound isolation. And when I'm using in-ear monitors, usually I actually want to hear the sound around me, so blocking out the sound is not helpful for me. Okay, so let's talk about scenario number one, and that is on-stage live performance. So if you're not familiar with me or my music, essentially I play instrumental ukulele-based music, but it's usually accompanied by piano, strings, bass, and other instruments like that. And when I play live, I'm essentially playing the ukulele, and all the other instruments are on backing tracks that I've recorded. And so that means on stage, I need to be able to hear the ukulele nice and clear. I also need to be able to hear my backing track and the click track that is behind the backing track also. So in order to achieve this, we actually need something to plug the Wave in-ear monitors into so we can get feedback from the PA. And I use this lovely fella, which is the Behringer P1. Now, the Behringer P1 is an in-ear monitor amplifier. So essentially you plug the waves into there and then you can get 2 XLR inputs worth from the PA. So you can get your monitors essentially straight there from the PA so you can hear what's going on instead of having the monitors on the stage. Once you plug the monitors into the top and your cable's in the back, you literally just slide this into your back pocket. I'm always wearing jeans, so I always have a back pocket there, but literally just on the back of the jeans, and there we go. It tucks away quite easily. Now, this kit isn't wireless or anything, but he is 45 euros. So, like I said, he's always done a good job for me, so I'm very happy with him. And with the waves, he actually works perfectly. So roughly around 2 weeks ago, I played the Czech Ukulele Festival. And essentially when I was on stage, I was wearing my Wave in-ear monitors and I had it all set up with the Behringer. And I had the ukulele running in my left ear, and then in my right ear, I had my backing tracks along with the click track. Now, the great news is throughout the entire set, everything was really crystal clear. Ukuleles, especially because they use piezo pickups, can sound quite harsh when plugged in. It's a problem with piezo pickups, but essentially really again through the in-ear monitors, never were my ears hurt or anything like that, or never was the treble too much. It actually kind of rounded off the sound really nicely. So even though it kept all the top end of everything that I could hear from my ukulele, nothing was harsh. It was a good, clear sound. And then at the other end of the spectrum, my backing tracks are usually basically really much lower pitches to support the ukulele. So we're talking double bass, really low piano or cello. And again, that sounded really nice and clear in my right ear. The bass wasn't overwhelming or anything. Nothing was muddy. It was just a clear, nice, punchy bass tone. So I could literally hear everything that was going on. The click also sat on top of it all perfectly well. So sound-wise, I was incredibly happy. I could hear everything really clear, and it just meant that on stage, I felt very in control of everything and could hear everything perfectly. Now, the cable length going down my back was actually the perfect length. So again, I've got them in, it goes down my back into the Behringer in my back pocket. I'm not a big guy, so essentially that means I was worried that there might be too much cable and that it would be easy to snag or anything, but it really all stayed out of the way and I didn't accidentally yank it with any of my arms. However, there were 2 points in my set where I kind of accidentally snagged the cable for my left headphone on my strap, and it really, really yanked it to the point where it yanked kind of my whole head and neck that way. The good news is that the Soundbrenners absolutely just stayed in my ears and did not move. Nothing was yanked out. It didn't even kind of adjust. It was really locked in. So I did that twice. I did that twice. But thankfully, both times I didn't have to adjust the in-ears. So fit-wise, they work perfectly for me. In all honesty, it's not something I would think about testing for a review like this. So this is why I was so happy that I got to test them on stage before I sat down and talked to you, because shit like that always happens that you never think about. And it's only until it happens that you're like, oh, okay, I need to talk about that. So yeah, like I said, thankfully they sit in your ear, and once they're in the ear, they really don't come out easily, which is great. In total, I was on stage for about 45 minutes with these waves in my ears. And again, for that amount of time, they were really comfortable. Never at any point did they start to hurt or anything like that. They just felt locked in, and almost I could kind of forget about them. So overall, I'd say that the Soundbrenner Wave in-ear monitors definitely passed the live test, and they are literally my monitors going forward for every gig now. Okay, so the other side of my job is basically teaching music and making music. So I spend a lot of time in this room right here, either teaching online or sat in front of my desk writing and recording music. And the whole time that's going on, I'm always wearing a pair of headphones. Now, those current pair of headphones are the Audio-Technica M50X, essentially over-ear headphones that are wired. And these headphones have a nice balanced kind of natural sound, which makes mixing very nice and also adjusting audio for videos as well. Now, I'm definitely no producer or audiophile, but I will say that I used the waves in exactly this scenario and they worked perfectly. So for mixing, I could clear everything in the mix. The sound stage was great, as in I could hear where everything was panned really accurately. And there was no big exaggeration of any of the frequencies. You know, the bass wasn't too bassy, the high wasn't too high, the mids weren't whatever. It was basically all very nice, all punchy, all clear. The only thing I noticed is that they seem quite hotter than my usual headphones. So essentially I just had to dial the volume down on them because they got loud quite quickly. When I'm in this environment here, it's very quiet, so I really don't need a lot of volume. However, on stage, that is where I massively appreciate something with a good amount of volume, so it blocks things out. So that worked. And I spent a good 2 hours in an editing session for a video using the waves. And again, they were extremely comfortable. 2 hours is a long time to be wearing headphones, but for these, they were very fine. And again, I've used in-ears in the past where I can't wear for more than maybe 15 to 20 minutes just because they start to hurt or whatever. So the fit on these for me have been great. The only negative for this situation that I found is that the 1.5 meter cable just isn't long enough for my setup. Now, I don't have a laptop, I have a desktop, and essentially I have my desk and then I have a piano sat in front of it. So the length to where my audio input is on the sound card is quite a good way away. So 1.5 just isn't long enough for me. Now, I know that's pretty obscure and not everyone's scenario is going to be like that, but often whenever you're making music or anything like that, your headphone input may be in a sound card and might be a little bit further away. So just check that cable length and just make sure it's long enough for you. I think if you have a laptop and you just sat on a desk with it, that's absolutely fine. But like I said, if it's in the back of a computer and quite far away, or in a sound card that's quite far away, you might just want a longer cable. And again, this is easily remedied. I just bought an extension 3.5 cable and it was no problem whatsoever. It's just basically something to complain about. Okay, so let's talk about using these things as general in-ear headphones for listening to music. Now, I've mentioned the fit. I'm really happy with the fit. They're really, really comfortable. So I found sitting down and listening to music with them, absolutely not a problem. They don't get too warm, they don't get annoying, they don't hurt, anything like that. I was also pleasantly surprised by the sound that they produce. Again, it's a hard thing to, we have like these monitor natural headphones, and then we have headphones that emphasize bass, etc. So I prefer like a general all-round sound. I don't like the bass really emphasized or anything like that. I like my music to sound exactly like it was on the recording. And that's exactly what the Soundbrenner waves do. They don't really apply any color. They just have everything nice and punchy. And again, from the bass to the treble, I could hear everything really clear. And it was a good, nice sound. So in my day-to-day life, I usually have three choices of headphones. I'm either sat at my desk using the Audio-Technica M50Xs. I have a pair of AirPod Pros, the second gens. They are in-ear. And then I have a pair of Sennheiser Momentum 4s, which are over-ears. So I know they're all very, very different headphones, and so it won't work as a direct comparison. But for me, again, like I said, because I work with music every single day, I'm a music teacher, I make music, etc. My ears are I feel like they're pretty tuned in. So I thought it'd just be a fun experiment to essentially listen to a couple of my favorite albums back to back across all three of these headphones, and that's using the Soundbrenner Waves, the AirPod Pro second gens, and then my Sennheiser Momentum 4s. And just for the nerdery, obviously the AirPod Pros are wireless and rely on Bluetooth, but the Sennheisers you can use wired, so I used them wired the same way I did with the Wave in-ear monitors. So again, the Waves really don't need a lot of volume to kick in. The bass response was much lower than the AirPods. The AirPods really overdo the bass. I found the mix much closer to my over-ear Sennheisers, which in my opinion have a better sound. So that was interesting. And in the track Bad for Your Health by Ando-san, there's a clap that is definitely positioned like in the back top left. That's where it's panned. And with the Waves and the Sennheisers, you can clearly hear exactly where that is. It's really distinct. With the AirPods, you can kind of hear it's to the left, but you can't really tell where it is. So the soundstage on these things is quite impressive. And when switching between the three different types of headphones, never did I feel like there was a massive drop in quality when I switched to the Soundbrenners or anything else. They're all pretty consistently very, very good sounds. Obviously different, but still I was happy with each of the sounds. If I had to listen to an album on either three of those headphones, I'd be super happy. However, I can't claim that the Soundbrenner Waves will be my AirPod killer. Thanks to modern day life and the lack of audio jacks and Bluetooth, I'm just always going to pick up my AirPods. Essentially, the sound quality is very, very, very similar, and the fact that the Bluetooth, but the noise cancellation for traveling is what I'm always looking for. So essentially, when I have to fly to festivals or gigs, or when I have to get the metro daily, the active noise cancellation on these modern day headphones is just something that I adore, and obviously these do not have that. However, when I am traveling to festivals, usually is out of Denmark, and so that means I have to fly to the festivals. So I've got accustomed with taking a little friend with me who keeps me preoccupied on flights and trains, etc. Now, this little friend does not have Bluetooth, it only has an audio jack. So that means that I have to remember to bring a wired pair of headphones with me every time I travel. And I bought a cheap pair of headphones, wired headphones, Apple headphones, just to take with me. But the problem is, one, they sound shit, and two, the other thing is they constantly fall out my ears. So they're not the best. They're just literally there so I can have some sound in my ears with the handheld. But often I just forget to bring them with me because it's not something on my priority list. I don't remember to bring an extra pair of wired little headphones for my travel handheld. I have always got my other headphones because I want to listen to music. And because these little babies come in such a tiny little carry case that is very, very sturdy. The carry case is very hardy. I'm very happy with that. It essentially means that I can just slip them in my backpack. So whenever I am traveling out to do anything music-wise, then essentially they're going to be with me anyway because I need them on stage. But it just means that I do actually have a pair of wired headphones for my little handheld. Again, that's a me problem. It's very niche, but if you do have a device that you have to bring with you that doesn't have Bluetooth or is better using an audio jack, and you need some in-ear monitors at the same time, then these babies do both jobs really, really well. And obviously Bluetooth means that if you're trying to do anything music and computer based, it makes it very, very impossible and frustrating. So you always need to rely on wired headphones for that. And again, I'm not going to carry around a big pair of over-ears on top just in case I need them, but something tiny that I'm carrying around that I have with me anyway, that are good enough to use monitor headphones and mix with is fantastic. So it all really comes down to, yes, I'm very happy with the Soundbrenner Waves as in-ear monitors on stage. They work perfectly, they're comfortable, they sound great, and they're also tiny so I can take them everywhere. It's a big win for me. Add on the bonus that they work well as headphones for music editing, and you also have a good sounding pair of wired headphones wherever you go. Essentially, thanks to all that, because of whenever I'm going to do anything music related, these kids are coming with me. And so there we go, professional musician and music teacher's opinion on the Soundbrenner Wave in-ear monitors. If you're looking to pick up a pair for yourself, I do have a nice 20% off code. That is right here, 4-String Boy deal. It's also pinned right down below. So that gets you essentially cheaper than they're on sale currently. It's roughly around 110 euros, or it's $92 before tax. That's the whole tax American system that I don't understand. And again, I have to say a massive thank you to Soundbrenner for sending me a pair. I really have loved all these months with them, and the fact that they'll be a big part of my music life going forward makes me very, very, very happy. Any questions or comments, please just drop them down below. I'll be happy to answer. But if this video has been helpful, then please drop a like, and if you fancy subscribing, essentially it's mostly ukulele stuff over here. I do review ukuleles and do ukulele covers, but the odd other musical gear will come in, so pedals, etc. So if you're interested in that shit, please subscribe. Other than that, thanks for listening to me today. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.